Okay, so in this video, I'm going to go over the fish sticks lab with you. Or at least the first part of it. So when we're looking at this, it says the colored craft sticks represent 3 different forms of a gene, green, red, and yellow, that controls one fish trait, which is the skin color. The table tells you which forms or alleles of the gene are dominant, which are recessive, and which are codominant. So remember that from the video, dominant, okay, that means it takes over. So it's going to show up no matter what. All right. Recessive means that it's hidden by the dominant gene. Okay. So let's take a look at this. It tells us lots of information here. It says the green G, which is the big G, is dominant to all other colors. So our big G is always going to take over. The red gene, which is the R, is recessive to green. So it's going to be hidden anytime a green gene shows up, and it's codominant to yellow. Okay, and we'll talk about codominant in just a second. The yellow gene, which is the Y, is recessive to green. So again, green is going to take over the Y, and codominant to red. Now it tells you here, codominant alleles result in an orange color. Okay, so let's look. It wants us to give all of the gene combinations, the genotypes that can create green. Well, if green is dominant to all colors, we can have a big G. Okay, we can have a big G, little r, because that's green as a dominant allele. The R, writing it little like that, lowercase r, means it's a recessive gene, so it's hidden. It's still there, it's still carried by the organism, but is not actually expressed in the offspring. My fish, my offspring with these genes would still be a green fish. And then we have G little y. Again, we have our big G, which is our dominant allele, our dominant gene that's going to take over. This fish, this baby, this offspring will be a it will be a green fish, but it will hide a yellow recessive gene. Now for red, it tells us red is recessive to green. So we already decided GR makes a green fish. So we can't have any G's in a green fish. It also tells us that it is codominant with yellow. So something like capital R, capital Y, because they're codominant together. That was terrible writing. Let me try that again. Capital R, capital Y. Okay, when they come together, they're going to make orange, so they don't make red. That leaves us with only lowercase r for a red fish. Now, for yellow, it's the same idea. It is codominant with red, so when they combine, if you had capital Y, capital R, that's going to give you an orange fish. The only thing that will give you a yellow fish is lowercase y. So there's your genotype options. So for the questions you're answering today, you're going to use this information right here that I just gave to you to answer the following questions. Now, here's what I'm looking for when you're answering the questions. I'm looking for you to set up your Punnett square the right way, and I'm looking for you to explain the why or why not. And in all of your answers, you need to talk about dominant and recessive genes. Okay, so let's talk about this a little bit. So when it says, can 2 red fish mate? Well, it tells me my 2 red fish. Okay, so when I look back up at my table, I know red fish, they have to have RR. So I'm going to set this up with an RR. This would be like mommy fish. And here's daddy fish because they're both red. Now it's your job to fill these in. So remember, I'm just bring this down and this over. Okay, so I know this first box is going to be RR like that. All right, and now I'll do it again for this box. I bring it over here. I bring this one down, and I get RR for this box. And then I come here, and I'm going to bring it down and bring it over. So I have RR in this box. And finally, for my last box, bring it down, bring it over, RR in this box, so that I can see all of my offspring are going to be homozygous recessive, which just means they have 2 recessive red genes. So you're going to answer the question, can 2 red fish mate and have green offspring? Well, you can look. All of them are RR, and that RR, that homozygous recessive R gene, when they're together, it makes a red fish. Okay, why don't they have a green gene? Well, because it already told us that the green gene is dominant to all other colors. So if I'm going to explain my answer, I'm going to say no, because red fish only have the recessive R gene. Okay, so I've helped you answer that one. Now, when you're working on the rest of them, some of them have more than one choice for parents. So you can use different choices. So for example, orange, okay, it could either be RY or YR, okay? So you can set it up like this, RY, YR, and then I want you to solve it on your own and then answer, can they have a red fish as offspring? Okay, remember that each box is an example of the offspring. Okay, now when you get here, can 2 green fish mate and have orange? Well, again, you have more than one choice here. So you could use the G with the R recessive or the G with the Y recessive. So you can set it up 3 different ways. You could have G, Y. Oh, that should be lowercase. Excuse me. Y. And G, R. And you could try G, G. And G, R. And then, you could come over here and do GY as father and G. Oh, that should be lowercase. I'm sorry, the R is recessive. It should be lowercase. My goodness. Okay. All right. So you're going to try out several combinations of the genes, and you're going to answer the question, can 2 green fish mate and have orange offspring, based on the results in your Punnett squares. So, and I've helped you set up in this video, so you can follow this video and set up your page just like this, and then you basically are just in charge of answering the why or why not. Be sure you're using your vocabulary, dominant and recessive.